Welcome to Community Conversations, the weekly show where we explore important issues with interesting local guests. And my guest today is Bruce Hyer, our local Member of Parliament. I'm your host, Steve Mantis, and welcome to our show. Bruce, you're the Member of Parliament for Thunder Bay Superior North. How big is that region? Where's the boundaries?
It's over 100,000 square kilometers. It's bigger than many European countries. It goes now to Pick River, First Nation past Marathon. And in the next election, it will include Manitouwadge. And then it goes north to Armstrong and up to Long Lac and Nakina and Geraldton, all of Greenstone. So it's big. It's very, very big.
So you cover and then it comes into Thunder Bay, and there's a line somewhere in Thunder Bay.
Half of Thunder Bay, the Harbour Expressway, right down the middle.
All right.
Yep. It has, my riding has 33 communities and 9 First Nations.
Big area to cover.
There's a couple of communities you have to fly in on a float plane, take via rail, and or paddle a canoe or take a snow machine like Collins and Nemegusitsagagan.
So when do you get any sleep?
I gave that up long ago. Actually, I'm not really here today. I'm one of my clones. There are 4 of me now.
So Bruce, you've been our MP for the last 5 or 6 years.
It'll be 6 years in the fall.
Okay, so what's your take? So this is, it's a new thing for you. So you're now well situated as an MP. How's it work there in Parliament? How do you feel about that?
Parliament is a mess. I have done a lot of things in my life. I have a very long and diverse resume, and I've been involved in lots of organizations, and I've never seen anything as dysfunctional as Parliament. Sorry to have to tell you that.
And what makes it dysfunctional? What do you see?
Well, I think I know how to fix it, and it actually would be relatively simple, but not easy. There are the 2 biggest reasons why our Parliament is a mess is our electoral system and the way parties unduly control their MPs. So there are about 100 democracies in the world, and 95% of them have some kind of proportional representation, which means that if 20% of Canadians vote for the Purple Party, whatever that is, I see you're in the Purple Party today.
Indeed.
Then 20% of the seats would go to the Purple Party. So in most countries, they'd elect 75 or 80% of the MPs just the way we do, but then they would adjust the numbers to make sure that the proportionality was what the people voted for nationally. Whereas in Canada, we have a system where with 39% of the vote, you can get 60% of the seats and 100% of the power. So we have what I call false majorities. They're rarely real majorities. And so what happens is in the House of Commons, people are either over-empowered or under-empowered. And one leads to arrogance and the other one leads to hostility and frustration and screaming across the aisle because they feel so unempowered. The other problem is that from 1867 until 1970, you ran as an MP on your name and your profession was the only thing that was on the ballot. In 1970, Pierre Trudeau changed the Elections Act and he added the party names to the ballot. I'm not sure that was a great idea, but the much bigger problem was that in the fine print of that 1970 Elections Act was the requirement that you cannot run as a candidate federally unless the national leader of your party signs your nomination papers. Mm-hmm. So they use this as a club, to be blunt about it. If you don't behave, we won't sign your nomination papers. I know I've been there, done that, and I didn't allow myself to be intimidated. But most MPs do. They go there with good intentions. And the saddest thing I've ever heard was one of my fellow MPs, after I decided to go independent, he said to me, Bruce, I don't think I'm going to do that. I want to be reelected. He says, I've just accepted the fact that what I really am is a customer sales representative for my party in my riding. Isn't that sad?
It is sad, and we're seeing the numbers of people that vote in Canada go down year by year. And I think you've laid out some of the reasons, the fact that you can have a party get a majority So they don't even have to listen to anybody at all.
A false majority.
A false majority
Yes.
with less than 40% of the popular vote. You know, people get disillusioned. Like, why does it matter? So what do we do? So you talked about proportional representation. Is that something that's viable, and what can we do to move in that direction?
Well, the good news and the bad news is the United States and Canada are a couple of the older democracies in the world. So they're old models. There are 5 countries that have our antiquated voting system, and they are Britain, the US, Canada, India, and that bastion of democracy, Zimbabwe. Those are the 5 that have our stellar voting system, and most more modern countries have a more modern electoral system and therefore work much better.
So, you know, that has been on the ballot in, I think, a couple of the provinces, a proportional representation, and it hasn't been accepted. I know when I've looked at it, I've thought, geez, this is so complicated, it's so hard to understand. Is there a place that people can go and see how it works and understand it so that they can then make an informed decision?
There is. There's an organization called Fair Vote Canada, and I believe the website is fairvote.ca, fairvote.ca, and you can learn about other systems of proportional representation. It's actually, it seems complicated. It actually isn't as complicated as it seems. The other simple thing that I've thought of doing in the short term is very simple, and that is I would randomize us in the House of Commons. Right now we sit in hockey teams with the coach sending us over the boards for a brawl once in a while. And if we were randomized, it's very hard to be rude and disrespectful to someone who's sitting right next to you.
Indeed, right. So what other aspects do you think that we could look at to strengthen our democracy here in Canada?
Well, we could pass Michael Chong's Reform Act. Michael Chong is a conservative, a progressive conservative, young MP, a very smart guy and very principled guy, who has introduced a Reform Act that actually would curtail the power of the leaders to interfere in writing nominations and put it back the way that it used to be. And it would also allow the elected MPs to select and unelect their leader if they chose to. So I'm going to be watching that one with great interest. Most of the MPs, the irony here is that most of the MPs would like to vote for it, but they don't dare. It's a catch-22. The parties are so controlling of the MPs that they won't allow them to fix the system to empower the MPs.
Right. Really important topic. We're going to take a short break and we're going to come back and have more discussion with our MP for Thunder Bay, Superior North, Bruce Hyer. Thanks, Bruce. We'll be right back.